Ladies and gentlemen, it is the wee hours of Sunday morning and time for showing up. I'm showing up. I'm glad you showed up. I appreciate every single one of you, especially the one of you that just subscribed yesterday and is probably going to unsubscribe after I talk about Stop Killing Games again. If history is any indicator, but I keep hearing this argument from people who support the Stop Killing Games initiative that we have never had a business model like this before, that companies have never been able to do this before, to just take the product you have purchased away from you. Words cannot express how fucking stupid you sound. Because this business model goes back thousands of years. Literal thousands of years. And I'm going to use a contemporary example that you could go to today. There is, in the city of Sandusky, Ohio, an amusement park called Cedar Point. And if you go to this amusement park, you will find that it costs $50 to go in the door. And once you go in the door, you will be there with a bunch of other people. And there will be all of these rides that you can ride along with the other people. There will be all kinds of shows that you could go see with these other people. It's a big communal, multiplayer sort of experience. Okay? Lots of you are there. Lots of you are playing in the park. You will also find, when you buy that ticket, that going into the main park is $50, but that doesn't include access to the water park. The water park is an add-on. You have to buy an additional ticket for another $50 to go into the water park. And even once you're in the water park, you still don't get access to the VIP area. The VIP area is kind of like DLC. It's there, but you can't use it. You have to pay extra. So you pay another $40. That's $140 if you're keeping track. That's 3 different tiers of access to the park. And that's all just for one day. At the end of the day, you have to go home. And you don't get to come back. Well, that sucks. You don't want to do that, right? Well, lucky for you, we have got additional options for you. The first one is, if you just want access to the main park, you can get a season ticket for $125. That's good for about 6 months, but it's not good for the special Halloween event, and you don't get into the water park. If you want to get into the water park, it's going to cost you $165, and you'll get to go to the Halloween event. But on top of this, you can also get express parking and access to the VIP area for a total of $375. Now see, there's 3 more tiers of access you could get. But on top of that, you can add on to any one of these. You can get the premium all-park access version for an additional $150, taking you from $275 to $315 to $525. Those are your 3 different avenues that you can go down to get more and more access. The $525 option gets you access to the main park, access to the water park, access to the VIP area, and access to an additional 30 parks throughout the continental United States that are operated by Cedar Fairs and Six Flags, including Kings Island in Cincinnati, Ohio, another absolutely fantastic park that is fun to go to. You might guess that I lived in Ohio for a fair amount of my childhood. So you've got 9 different tiers of access to these different collections of parks. You've got all of these different things that you can buy. And it's been like this for decades. There have been add-ons that you purchase to your admittance for decades. You want to talk about in-game purchases? When you go into an amusement park, hey presto, off to one side you have people selling food and drink at extortionate prices. Well, those are consumables. You can buy consumables for too much fucking money. Now, to the other side, you got people that are selling souvenirs and apparel for extortionate prices. Well, those are cosmetics. You can buy cosmetics over on that side. Once again, these are your in-park purchases. There's nothing new here. It's the same thing. It's been like this forever. It was like this when I was a child. It was like this 50 years ago. And you guys are acting like it's new. Now, you may sit there and go, it's different because you're not buying a game. You know what? I used to play this game. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Cosmic Encounter. Let me refocus my camera because it's stupid. Cosmic Encounter. This is one of my favorite games of all time. For about 5 years, I was a member of a group of gamers. We played this game every week, every single week. And I have kept all of the pieces carefully. I have maintained them in the appropriate order. I've kept them in good shape. And I've got all of the cards and all of the tokens, everything that came with it. I've got the little challenge cone. And I've got the little tokens that you play with. And there's something on the challenge cone. And I don't know what that's from. That looks like, I'm not sure. It looks like an old, decrepit, moldy rubber band that came apart. I did, some years ago, go through this game and realize that the rubber bands were staining the cards. So I replaced the rubber bands with long life archival antibacterial rubber bands, because that is the kind of dumbass I am. Also, to avoid wear and tear on the various tokens, I bought these little stones, these little stone game pieces that you can use instead of little cardboard things because they're more durable. I love this game. I've invested a lot of time and a lot of energy into maintaining it in a playable state. And I have not played this game in 20 years. The reason I have not played this game in 20 years is because it is out of print. And because it's out of print, you can't get parts for it anymore. You can't get pieces for it anymore. And the logistics of finding other people that play a 30-year-old game are just, they're impossible. You can't find people that play a game like this. I did go looking for a group 20 years ago, but in fact, it was like 27 years ago. A long time back. But the problem I had was I couldn't find any group that played specifically Cosmic Encounter. What I found was a whole lot of groups that played board games and had played Cosmic Encounter once, or were willing to play Cosmic Encounter because it was a board game. I couldn't find a group of 4 people like I had in my previous location who wanted to just play Cosmic Encounter. This was my first real inkling of how hard it is to develop friendships as an adult. We don't have a good framework for it. It's hard to find people who like the things that you like and who do the things that you do and who live in your general vicinity. But there's another game that I want to bring up as well. And it's another game that's out of print, and it is my favorite role-playing game of all time. I bought it when I was 12. It's called Man, Myth, and Magic. This is the advanced rule book. There is, I have 3-hole drilled for safekeeping. There's a basic rule book, and there's an advanced rule book, and then there is what they call the adventure book. So it's, hold on. So it's a 3-book system, and the adventure book has a collection of 4 adventures in it. And in addition, there are several published adventures. The 5th adventure, Death to Setanta, which comes immediately after the adventures in the adventure book. And I have all of them. I have Episode 5, Episode 6, Episode 7, Episode 8. I have the Egyptian trilogy, the 3 adventures that come in Adventure 2. I have the Werewolf of Europe, Adventure number 3. And as you can see, the Werewolf of Europe is still sealed. In fact, so are Adventures 7 and 8 here. So are Adventures 6, 7, and 8. Because I've replaced them repeatedly. You can see that here I've got Death to Setanta, Episode 5, and here I have another copy of Death to Setanta. And I have the spare advanced rules book that I can pass around in the theoretical situation that I find people who actually want to play the game. It is immensely difficult to find people who are willing to play a brand new game that they've never played. And on top of that, the game's out of print, so nobody wants to play an outdated, out-of-print game. Nobody wants to do that. It's just impossible to find a group that wants to play a game like that. So we have here a 30-year-old game that I haven't been able to play in 20 years, and a 40-year-old game that I haven't been able to play in, God. I played it a couple of times in the first couple of years since I got it, because in the 80s we had an outrageous number of role-playing games that came out. And lots of people were playing lots of different games. And you could go to your local gaming group and you could say, I got this new game, it's called GURPS. I got this new game, it's called Car Wars. I got this new game, it's called Chill. And everybody goes, let's just play Dungeons and Dragons. If you were lucky, you'd find a group that would play Gamma World and somebody that would play Boot Hill. Sometimes you'd run into people that played Tactics, or Tractics was the old World War II thingy that they used to do. Let me make sure this is focused. And Rifts was common. Vampire the Masquerade, Ars Magica. There were a lot of games. Tunnels and Trolls was fairly popular. That had a solo play mode, which was really useful. It made it a good thing to have if it was hard to find people that wanted to play the games you wanted to play. When people talk about stop killing games, the business model where the game you're playing can be killed isn't new. All of these games, they went out of print And when they went out of print, you couldn't get new players for them. Nobody was interested in playing them. Nobody wanted to play them. They wanted to play the new hot games that are cool. They don't want to play the old shit. This has gone on forever. Games have gone out of print, and people have stopped being interested in them and wanting to play them. And only the people that still have the games are still interested in playing them. And I know a lot of you are going to sit there and you're going to go, but you still have it. You can still play it. These are multiplayer games. There's nothing for me to do with them by myself. I need other people to play these games. If there aren't other people to play these games with, there's no point. You can't play them without the other people. And it's ridiculous to suggest that Mayfair Games needs to provide me with a way to contact other players. That's not their job. That's never been their job. It's ridiculous to suggest that Yaquinto has to provide me with a way to find other players for their game, especially since both Mayfair and Yaquinto are out of business. They don't exist anymore. Mayfair was purchased by, I think, Milton Bradley. Milton Bradley went on to release an updated version of Cosmic Encounter that was dog shit. Call that a remaster or a remake. And there has since been there's been an effort to turn Cosmic Encounter into a multiplayer video game. I don't know how well that worked. I didn't try it. It didn't seem like it's not the vibe I was looking for. I understand that the people who want their game to keep being playable don't want to lose their game. I've lost my favorite games. I've lost a lot of my favorite games. But this is not new. This is not something that has never happened before. It's not a brand new thing. It's just a thing. It's the nature of the world. The thing that you loved stops being popular and stops being profitable and stops being supported. And nobody is going to help you keep it alive. You have to do that yourself. It's always been like this. It's always going to be like this. One of these days, the amusement park in your area is going to close. It's going to shut down because people aren't going to be interested anymore. They're going to go, that's old news. Nobody goes there anymore. And they're going to close down and they're never going to open up again. And you may pound your fists on the gate as long as you like, screeching about your memories and how important it is to you and how much money you've spent there over the years. But you have no ownership in that park. There was never any reason for you to think there was any ownership. You may feel like that park is in some way yours, but it's not. It doesn't belong to you. And one of these days, they're going to close down and you're not going to be able to ride those rides anymore. You're not going to be able to go there anymore. The rides that you remember from your childhood are going to be gone. They're going to be replaced by something new and different that you don't like. This happens. Life happens. Things move on. It's not healthy to try and hold on to them. Says the guy who still has every single fucking product that was ever released for Man, Myth, and Magic. Several of them still in the shrink wrap. You have to accept at some point that the things you loved in your youth are not going to be there anymore because the world is different. Because you're different. The same man can't stand in the same river twice because it is no longer the same river and he is no longer the same man. You need to make peace with that. You need to understand that you don't get to hold on to everything forever. I mean, you could try. I still have the original Star Wars trilogy before George Lucas fucked with it on VHS. And for over 20 years, I've been afraid to put these in a VCR. I have one in the other room. I have a VCR. I've been afraid to put these in a VCR because what if they don't work anymore? What if they're gone? What if I've lost the original cut of these movies and I can never see it again? Right now, that box represents possibility. I could watch those movies again, and they would be the same as they always were, and not fucked up by George Lucas doing his dumbass shit. But what if they weren't? What if they don't work? What if the tape is degraded? What if the movie is not watchable anymore? Then I have to give that up. And it's that risk. It's that risk where you go, I could have the movie that I remember, the movie that hasn't been fucked up. Or on the other hand, maybe I could have nothing. Maybe I could have absolutely jack shit. It's Schrodinger's box. And Schrodinger's box is bullshit. You can pretend that it exists in whichever state you prefer, as long as you don't check which state it's in. But collapsing the wave function doesn't actually do anything. The cat in the box is either alive or dead right now. There is a truth of the matter. And if you don't know it, that doesn't change the truth. The truth still is what the truth is. When companies discontinue games, you have to move on from those games. You don't have a choice anymore. You have to move on. And I understand that you want that choice, that you want to choose when you move on. You don't want to move on before you absolutely have to. But when the company comes along and says, it's time, you have to. Move the fuck on. People talk about these games, they act like it's Michelangelo's David, like it's the Mona Lisa, like it's Botticelli's Venus de Milo. It's Botticelli's Birth of Venus. The Venus de Milo is different. I don't remember who sculpted the Venus de Milo. It might be Michelangelo. I don't recall. It doesn't matter. She's got no arms. But regardless, I think Cosmic Encounter was a masterpiece of game development and design, and I have the fondest and most wonderful memories of playing it. But it's not a great, timeless work of art. Get the fuck over yourselves, people. It's consumer garbage. It's just not that important. I think a lot of people have just missed that your personal precious memories, your personal things that you love about your childhood, they're just not that important. And you need to internalize that. And you need to get used to that. And that's all I have to say about that right now. The EU is not going to give you what you want. They're really not, because they're not stupid. They understand the principle behind this. They understand that what's happened here is you bought a ticket for admission and you thought it was stock. You thought it gave you ownership and a vote and some rights. And it doesn't. It never did. This model has existed for thousands of years. In ancient China, there were theaters. And you paid to get into the theater and watch the show. And when the show was over, you went home. You left. And if you wanted to see another show, you had to pay again. This model has been there forever. And when the theater shut down and it goes away, we've seen that a lot too. There was a theater in Columbus, Ohio. Gorgeous, beautiful, historic theater. And they were going to shut down. They went bankrupt. They were going to shut down. And there was this huge fundraising drive, and everybody went, save the theater, help them pay their back taxes. And they paid their back taxes, and they got everything taken care of. And they were like, oh, yes, now we can finally keep the theater open. And they sank a bunch of investment money into it to try and make the theater profitable again. And nobody went. Everybody was there to donate money when the theater might close. And once the theater was safe from closing, the people who ran the theater went, clearly people want to come to the theater again. They want to come here and they want to watch movies and they want us to be the center of their social life again. Clearly, this is a thing that people want. This is a thing that people are willing to pay for. And they were not. And the owners of the theater went even farther in debt than they had been before, because they had faith in the community. They had faith in the audience. They had faith in all of the people that wanted the theater to stay open. And those people didn't show up. So the theater declared bankruptcy. And it shut down. And when they declared bankruptcy and went to shut down again, the public was back. And this time the public was saying, we bailed you out once. Clearly this is all your own fault. None of you really care about video game preservation. None of you really care about archival. None of you care about art. You just want the things you want to stay there for you forever. But you don't want to pay for them and you don't want to do any work. You want somebody else to do it all. That's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. This, too, is not new. Somebody else should do the work, and you should get the benefits. Well, that's bullshit. And y'all suck. And I'm going to keep calling it out, and I'm going to keep calling you lying sacks of shit that you are. All the million plus of you that signed that fucking petition and said, make the rich people do what we want. Nobody's going to make the rich people do what you want because you don't have anything that they want. They don't care. You don't matter. They don't mind. Anyway, I'm going to make myself another drink. I will be right back. And then we'll do some art. We'll do some art. There's some stuff I want to talk about with art. You know, I did think of something here. I thought of something that that I think is fairly important to articulate. You're not wrong for holding on to the things you love. You're not wrong for wanting to keep them and wanting to have them around and wanting those memories to stay available. You're not wrong for that. There's nothing wrong with you for wanting to keep those things around. What's wrong is trying to force other people to participate. I can keep all of my man, myth, and magic stuff. I can keep all of these supplements and all of these events. I can keep all of this forever. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. But I can't make other people participate in my nostalgia. That's the problem. That's the morality issue. That's what's wrong. It's not wrong for you to want these things. It's not wrong for you to hold on to these things. It's not wrong for you to wish things wouldn't change. What's wrong is to try and force other people to engage with your desire to keep things the way they are. And I'm going to stop talking about this before I start talking about current United States politics, because there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of people that wish it was 1940 again. And yeah, as a Jew, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of 1940. Wasn't my idea of a good time. I'm sorry. So I don't like that, and I don't want that. But let's talk art. Let's talk art. I was talking to somebody on Blue Sky. I was talking to somebody named Multi, and they're primarily a not safe for work artist. Okay, they paint porn. That's what they do. They do porn. That's their thing. That's what they do, is porn. A lot of the people I follow on Blue Sky are artists who specialize in porn. A lot of lesbian porn. Now, I'm not personally all that interested in lesbian porn, but I am interested in pictures of naked women. So I'm of two minds about the lesbian porn. I'm not so into the lesbian part, but the women, I'm into the women, and the butt necktism is kind of, that's a plus. What the hell? Something stuck on my screen there. Let me wipe down this screen. I could smell again, and I forgot how much I love the smell of Windex. The smell of Windex as I clean my drawing tablet screen. That's a wonderful thing. Since losing my senses of smell and taste for a couple of days on COVID, I appreciate scents and flavors so much more than I used to. I notice them and they matter to me so dramatically. Anyway, I was talking to Multi, and there's this process that I go through when I do what's intended to become a full finished piece. And usually the way that it works is I start by kind of sketching out what it is. Ooh, that's I start by doing a basic sketch of whatever it is that I'm trying to do, and I don't know. Let's do kind of a leg here with a foot, and it's not very good. But once I've done that initial sketch, I will then come in and I will think in terms of actual construction, and I will do like a more detailed sort of layout. And I'll come up with something that looks a little bit more finished. And then what I'll do is I'll come down to my palette area and I'll go, okay, let's get a skin tone of some sort. Okay, that's kind of deep. Let's make it a little. There's a good skin tone right there. And having made a good skin tone, I will then come in and I'll sort of establish the flat color of the piece right there. The way that I do this is kind of, I use that composition line to figure out where things start out. Then I just kind of roughly sketch in that flat color. But the thing that Multi does is, instead of working with the final color, what they do is let's first of all get things on the right layer. So cut and paste. Oh, it needs to be from the palette. Cut and paste. Palette, and that comes down there to the flat color. Now, what Multi does is color code things. So take like this kind of golden color. So take this kind of golden color, and they'll go, okay, here's the knee. So obviously this needs to go on its own layer. So what they'll do is they'll go, okay, this this golden color is going to be the knee. So the knee is going to be right there. And then they'll go, okay, well, we'll do this kind of dark green here. That's going to be the upper thigh. That's going to be right there. And then they'll go, okay, now this kind of light blue is going to be the lower leg, right in there. And then we'll have a kind of deep purple is the foot right here. And they color coordinate that. And by color coordinating that, they create this fundamental area where now they could come in and they can go, well, I know what that is, so I can now hide the sketch. And they can put this line art together. And by doing it in that order, they can now turn around and they can turn off the color, and they have cleaner and better line art. So I've been looking at that, and I've been looking at that process, and I've been thinking, maybe this is a direction that I want to go moving forward with my work, is to color code the individual pieces of the body and use that to kind of clean up the line art, because it's kind of what I do right now. And when you look at the sketch construction line art, I was doing the sketch first and then the construction, and then I do line art over top of that and try to go in and color it in. But I found that going into the flat color process and to put the flat colors down helped me with the line art. I think it may help me even more to color code the body parts. So I could go, okay, well, this is this body part and this is that body part. I think that might make things even easier and better in terms of the line art. But at the same time, this is a new concept, and I'm still trying to figure out whether it's a direction that I want to go and a direction that I want to pursue. I'm not sure whether this will improve matters, whether it will result in me producing more art, whether it would result in me producing better art. But thinking about the process, thinking about how this fits together, I think this may be helpful conceptually, and I don't know, maybe it's helpful to you. Maybe you look at this and go, hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to start doing that. Because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about it. So, So kind of what I typically do is just sort of, I mean, I put everything together, but I think it may be useful to, you know, I'm going to pause for a second so I can talk about something else. Hold on a moment. I'm going to pause for a minute. I got to go get a visual aid, and then I'll talk about something I talked about years ago, but that still remains useful. Okay, so these are old plastic Easter eggs because I'm old and never throw anything away. The thing I want you to think about is when you're talking about the torso, you kind of have the pelvis is like a little bowl, and the rib cage is like a little funnel, and then you got all of your guts sort of sit in the middle of that. And they kind of sit in the middle there, and that's how everything fits together. Okay, you got this rib cage that sits up top, and you got this pelvis that sits on the bottom, and then you got guts in the middle. And those guts in the middle, you just kind of, as you twist and bend and turn, you know, you got these guts in the middle that are just kind of like rolling around inside of there. So your pelvis and your rib cage will get closer together and farther apart up front. They can squinch in on the sides and whatnot. But you just got this massive guts in the middle that everything's kind of rotating around. So I find it productive when you're looking at a torso, when you're thinking about a torso, like you've got here's, let's hide some stuff here. I create a brand new layer here, and on this layer right here, okay, so you've got sort of, here's your chest, and your chest has the rib cage inside of it, of course, and you've got your pecs are kind of coming up along the sides. Now your rib cage kind of gets very narrow up here, and it widens out, and then here in the middle you've got what broadens out this area is the pecs that connect into the arms right here, and the lats right here, and inside of that you got your rib cage. Okay, so inside of that you got your rib cage, and that rib cage, there's a bunch of guts. There's a lung in here and a lung in here, and there's a heart here, there's a stomach here, there's a liver here, there's a kidney, and then there's your gallbladder and your spleen, and throughout all here is all of your intestines and whatnot. And there's a bladder down here, and then you've got a kind of bowl of the pelvis right here. And you got your junk hanging down off of that. So all of that together, all of this stuff here in the middle is kind of, that's your, that's all your ushy gushies. This bit right here, that's all ushy gushy and sits around on the inside. Let me put that layer down underneath of that. So that's all ushy gushy and floats around on the inside of that. And that comes all the way up to there and all the way down to there. All of this in here is all ushy gushy stuff, okay? But then you've got right here your pelvic girdle, that's bone. All of that's bone. And up here, you got your rib cage. Your rib cage, that's bone. Okay? So all of that, this bone stays rigid, and that bone stays rigid, and all of the ushy-gushy in the middle, that squishes around, and it moves around inside. It can move around all over the place. And then you've got, over top of this, you've got skin. and that skin just kind of stretches over top of it, okay? So what you've got is, you got all of this, and then you got the skin stretched over top of it. And when the eggs move around each other, you can see that the skin on top of it moves with it. And you can see that it stretches, and you can see that it compresses and crinkles. And that's kind of how everything works with your skin and your bones and your guts and your muscles and all of that sort of thing. I don't know how fucking useful that is, but that's very much a way that I think about it. Is to think about things in terms of what is rigid, and what is not. And you've got your rib cage. It's fairly rigid. It flexes a little bit, but not much. And you've got the pelvis, again, rigid. And then you've got a shoulder blade in the back, which is rigid. And then you've got an arm bone on either side. And you've got additional arm bones that come down out of that. And then you've got the hand bones. You've got a leg bone here and a leg bone here. Got a kneecap, and then you've got your leg bones there, and then there are foot bones underneath of that. And running along behind that is your spine, and then up at the top you got your skull. So all of these rigid things, your shoulder, new layer. So your shoulder right here, we're going to grab that skin color again. Your shoulder right here is always going to be the exact same distance from your elbow, because that bone doesn't change length. It doesn't change shape. Your wrist right here is going to be the same distance from your elbow that your elbow is from your shoulder. So if you identify where your shoulder is and you identify where your wrist is, the elbow has to be somewhere on this line. It has to be somewhere in between them. And there has to be an exact match between those lengths. Now, how long that is depends, obviously, but you know that doesn't look right, and that does. Depending on where you put your wrist, it dictates, if you know where your shoulder is, you know where your wrist is, you know where your elbow has to go. It has to go midway between them. Now, it can be midway between them in 3D space, so it can be anywhere in an elliptical orbit. But it's the same way with your hip and your knee and your ankle. Okay, your hip, your knee, and your ankle, similar distances from each other. In the same fashion, right here, the crotch, that's the middle of the body, okay? You can contort the body in all kinds of different ways, but you've got the same amount of space on top as you've got on the bottom. Your rib cage and your pelvis, your rib cage is going to stay static. It's going to stay firm and rigid. It's not going to deform very much. This area in here does all the deforming. The pelvis doesn't. It's the same thing with your back. Your back, the muscles do some deforming, but nothing else does. Why is that not? There we go. So that back, you've got some deforming of the muscles, but you don't have any deformation of the shoulder blades. And the only thing the spine can do is kind of bend. Okay? The spine can bend in lots of different ways, and it can twist in lots of different ways, but it always stays the same length. And that's useful. I really need to do more finished pieces. I need to do more finished artwork. I'm feeling that push more and more because the last couple of weeks that I've had COVID, that's 2.5 weeks, it has been really difficult for me to think properly. And now kind of my brain's working again. And I like that my brain's working again. I can think clearly about stuff. I can think clearly about creative stuff. And there's like 8 million things I want to do. So, yeah, I got a lot of stuff that I need to do. But at the same time, you know, the work has been piling up. And on top of the work piling up, we got a fucking garbage strike going on out here. Oh, man. It's like, it's the dumbest thing because the county garbage workers have gone on strike. We live outside of the county limits. Well, not outside of the county. We live outside of the city limits. King County Waste Collection doesn't collect our garbage. We have a separate contract with a private company that collects our garbage. And they have gone on strike in solidarity with the county workers. What the fuck? What the entire fuck is this bull? Why are you going on strike for the wages of someone else? Do you think I have something to do with it? Do you think I have some involvement with this? I pay the same fucking taxes as everybody else. I don't have anything to do with this shit. What the fuck? We're on strike. You're not on strike. You're fucking lazy. You know, that's another thing. I should probably not talk about this, but I've been drinking, so fuck it. Every time I talk about universal basic income, people go, you can't just pay people for not working. But we do. We do. We let people not work. We let lots of people not work. There are lots of people out there who don't work and get paid, and we let it happen. We don't make them go and work in addition to getting paid for their not working that they do. We don't do that. And the reason we don't do that is we don't actually give a shit whether you work. We just care whether you have money. That's all that actually matters to us. So the thing is, opponents of universal basic income are constantly complaining about, if you pay people and they don't have to work, why would they work? That is a you problem. I don't get paid for any of the work that I do. Like, literally none of the work that I do. I don't get paid for any of it. I'm not going to get paid for collecting all of the fucking apples that fell out of the apple tree this weekend while we were chopping down a bunch of limbs, because the limbs had to be chopped down to make room for the people who are going to clean all the mold and moss off of the roof and power wash the sides of the house. We have to provide a safe work environment for them, which means we have to remove certain limbs from the tree outside of the house so they do not represent a hazard. We have to do that. That's part of our responsibility. We don't get paid for it. In fact, we're going to pay them $1,300 to clean the moss off the roof and power wash the fucking house, which is fine. It's a fair price, not complaining, fair play to them. They're going to work all day and they're going to have a team of like 4 people. And for those 4 people to make about $200 each, well, let's see. The business should take a profit of about 30%. So out of $1,300, they should get about $400. And that'll leave about $900 to be split among 4 people. That's $225. That's not a bad day's work. That's about it's a little short of $30 an hour. It's about $27.50. So that's fine. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with a team of 4 guys making $27.50 an hour to spend one day cleaning my fucking house. I have no problem with that. But I have to provide them with a safe work environment. And I don't get paid for that. I got to pay them and I got to do work. Now, on top of that, I also have my game that I'm working on. I got code to write that I don't get paid for. I got art to do that I don't get paid for. I got music to make that I don't get paid for. I got story and lore to write that I don't get paid for. I got design to do, project management, budgeting, all of this shit. And it's all time budgeting. It's not money budgeting. I'm not spending anything on this. And I constantly have to answer the question, is it time to start upgrading the game engine to the 4.5 dev versions? Or am I going to keep it locked on 4.4 release and just stay there? That's a difficult question. And that's something I should go into as a project management question at some future date. But regardless, people always go, well, if you pay people and they don't work, why wouldn't they just keep not working? Why would they continue not to? Why would they want to do work ever? Why would anybody ever want to work? Same reason they want to work now, because you'll pay them. If everybody got paid, just to pull a number out of my arse, $1,500 a month. If everybody got paid $1,500 a month, they would be able to relax and feel like, hey, $1,500 a month is enough that, you know, I can afford to get an apartment as long as I have a roommate, and to buy groceries and to like live my life. And then I can stop and I can think, hey, what work do I want to do? What work would I enjoy doing? What work would be fulfilling? What work would be meaningful? What work would matter? Because everybody wants more. Everybody always wants more. That's the nature of people. They want more. It's like, I can afford to buy groceries, but man, wouldn't it be nice if I could have pizza every night instead of just twice a week? Wouldn't it be nice if I could have a steak now and then? Man, that'd be good. And if you can't afford to have a steak now and then on what you're already making, you got to go work for somebody to make the money that you can afford to have a steak now and again. And that's pretty fucking obvious. Just because I'm saying give everybody money doesn't mean give everybody all the money they want. It's give everybody enough. Everybody should have enough. There's no good reason why anybody in the United States of America should have trouble keeping a roof over their head, or clothes on their back, or food in their belly, or receiving adequate health care, or being able to improve themselves through education and entertainment. Everybody should be able to do that. There should be nobody in these United States, well, no citizen in these United States, who can't do that. If you're not a citizen, maybe then you have to work. But at the same time, maybe you don't. Depends on your situation. I don't think you have to force people to work by threatening them with hardship and death. I think people like and want to work if the work is necessary, if the work is meaningful, and if the work is appreciated. I think everybody wants to feel like whatever work they do is work that needed to be done. And I think after they do the work, they should look at it and they should say, okay, me doing that work made a difference. It made things better. Things are better now that I've done the work. And I think we all need somebody to come up to us and say, hey, good job. You did the work. You made things better. I think you take those three elements, the recognition that the work would make a difference, that the work has made a difference, and that somebody has noticed the difference your work made. I think if you put those three things together, everybody likes and wants to work. I think you find that with kids. I think you could take a 4-year-old and you go, man, wouldn't it be nice if somebody changed the trash? You could change the trash and then the trash would be changed and that would be good. And if the kid changes the trash, you just go, hey, you changed the trash. Good fucking job. I'm glad you changed the trash. It's good that you changed the trash. It's real good. That's all you need. Those three things is just, does the work need to be done? Will it be better after the work's done? And does somebody notice and appreciate the work? That's it. And I think as long as you have those three things, I think people want and like to work. At some point, I'm going to finish my game. And I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to say, hey, everybody, play my game. And if just a few people play my game and go, wow, man, that's a good game. I'm glad you made that game. I'm enjoying this. If just a few people say that, I'll probably make another one. I know me. I've seen me do it. If I go, hey, it would be nice if we had this game. Let me make this game. Oh, all right. The world's better now because we have this game. Hey, everybody, I made this game. Wow, good game, man. I'm glad you made it. I've done that. I've seen that happen. That's all I need. That's all I need to make another game. Of course, at the same time, there's a part of me that goes, I can see that the work needs to be done, so I'll do the work. But as long as the work's not done, I don't have to answer the question of, is the world better now that I've done the work? And if I still haven't finished, it doesn't matter if nobody says I did a good job. I'm not finished. I'm not finished. When I'm finished, you'll say I did a good job. And it's that same basic thing. It's that same basic concept. It's the same thing as not watching these videos. As long as I don't watch them, maybe they'll be good. But when I do watch them, maybe they're fucked up. Maybe they're ruined. And I'm worried about that because I had a copy of the original uncut Bob Guccione Penthouse VHS movie, Caligula. And somebody, okay, it was my wife. My wife, in her infinite wisdom, thought all the empty space in the back of these speakers is a good place to put all of these videotapes. And if you know anything about speakers, you know that the empty space in the back of the speaker is where that big fucking magnet is. And if you know anything about videotapes, you know what a big fucking magnet does to them. I'm still fucking salty about that. But she didn't know any better. She really didn't. She really... She thought she was doing a good job. She thought she was going to use fewer boxes, and I would be proud of her. So I can't be too mad, you know, but that is a question. There are going to be people that maybe they don't do any work because they're afraid they won't be told they're doing a good job. Because they don't know what a good job is or what a good job looks like. You know, that's another interesting thing. The only people who are afraid they won't do a good job are the people who do a good job. The fucking idiot who doesn't know what a good job looks like and couldn't do a good job if they tried with both hands, they're not even concerned. They're not worried. They're going to go ahead and do the job. And look at the great job I did. You fucked everything up completely. What? If you're worried about whether you do a good job, you're going to do a good job. I really need to internalize that. I really do. Well, regardless, I think the important message here is always be improving yourself in some way. Always be looking for ways that you can be better and making yourself better. You're not going to make yourself better holding on to the past. You have to do more things, new things. You have to do the work. You have to show up. Anyway, do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. And the one guy who did subscribe yesterday, hope you're still here. But, yeah, okay, bye.